Hello, this is Kelly at the Inner Space Center. Great, so it sounds like you have a pretty big crowd. We are going to go live to the EV Nautilus and talk with Katie and Tammy, and they can tell you what they've been doing, all about the expedition, and answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Hello, Broward County Schools. We are live on board the EV Nautilus right now. We are in port in Galveston, Texas, waiting for some new equipment to come aboard, and once we get that, we will be on our way to another leg of exploration in the Gulf of Mexico. We are waiting for a new winch and cable that we will use for our remotely operated vehicles, so we can easily put them in the water and have them do their exploration and then get them out. So hopefully once that gets going at some point today, we will be on our way and getting going with some exploration. So we are ready to take your questions.
Hello, New River.
Hey.
Are you there?
Yeah. Right here. Hello.
Hello. So you guys know me, but I want to make sure, New River, I want to introduce you to who's with me today. Tammy, you want to tell my students at New River and also Broward County who will introduce ourselves quick. So.
Sure, I'm a teacher up at Stoneman Douglas High School up in Parkland, and I teach marine science and environmental science. So it's great to have two of us here from Broward County Schools, so that way we can collaborate with the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, and hopefully we can get something going in the future.
Yes, and so New River Middle School, you know, I'm the magnet coordinator, Catherine O'Fallon, but we have a lot of Broward County schools who are watching live right now, and through our community STEM program, this is all possible that every student in Broward County is able to watch right now with their classes, and so not only are New River students able to be on live right now, but your students at Stoneman Douglas can actually be watching as well. So, and we're really excited about all this stuff because right now we're about to get going, as Tammy mentioned, hopefully sometime today, but we want you guys to tune in all weekend and into the start of next week when we're going to have another live interaction on Monday. But you guys can tune in live at nautiluslive.org, and you can ask questions basically 24 hours and see what's going on. You can watch cameras from the ship and see what's happening as we're even working on loading and doing missions. And if you guys follow on Twitter, EV Nautilus, or on Facebook, you can actually get information as soon as we're about to go on a mission. So definitely put that in today so you guys can follow us.
But we are ready for your questions now, so ask away.
You guys there? Does anyone have any questions?
This is so fast.
I don't hear them any. There they
Can
are.
you hear me?
No, I mean, like, are you guys gonna, like, go inside? Like,
We can hear you.
Or are you gonna, like, remotely operate them?
Can you?
Okay, the question was, are you going
How do we remotely operate the vehicles?
or are you going in to the vehicles?
Okay, Ms. Humphreys, can you repeat that question again? Because I heard some other. Are you going someplace with the vehicles?
Yeah, are you going to be operating the vehicles, or is someone else doing it?
No, we are not going to be operating the vehicles. We have engineers on board who are trained pilots for the ROVs. We've got one person that will be piloting the Argus ROV, and then another person that will be piloting the Hercules ROV. They both work together to get down to the depth that we'll be exploring at, and we have also interns on board from various institutions that will be helping to pilot the ROVs. So unfortunately, us educators will not be piloting. We need some more training and experience with that. But that's something that if any of you guys are interested in the future to get into in high school and in college, if you're thinking about engineering or something technical along those lines, you could totally do engineering and piloting of ROVs? That's a great question.
Yeah. What do you guys
have another one for us?
Yeah. What are you guys doing with ROVs? Are you guys taking samples or?
What's the mission? Okay. What is the mission? Is the question. Where are you going and what are you doing on this mission?
Do you want to take that?
Excellent. All right. I'll try to answer, and Tammy can fill in also. So our mission right now, first, is like Tammy mentioned earlier, we're waiting for some new equipment. So the first mission is actually going to be to test out the equipment, make sure that this new fiber optic cable is going to be working the way it's supposed to work. So that's going to be kind of the first mission, is to test out some new equipment, which is really exciting. And then once that's underway, we're going to head to some of the brine pools that they just found, underwater lakes, basically. And if possible, we might also check out a shipwreck that's not too far away from the brine pools. But if you guys have been looking and following some of the video, there was some brine pool, the underwater lake video footage, which is up on Nautilus Live. Check it out. Anything else? Did I miss?
No, I think you covered everything. The brine pools are throughout the Gulf of Mexico, and the word brine is referring to salt. And so these are areas where there's a much higher salt concentration than throughout the rest of the ocean area. And the salt is essentially coming out of the crust or the seafloor and accumulating. And salt is more dense, and so it accumulates into these areas that we refer to as a pool or a lake. And they are ecologically unique areas. The organisms living around the brine pools tend to include things like mussels and other simple invertebrates. And we are looking not only at the chemical composition of the brine pools, but also some of the biological community surrounding the brine pools.
Wait. Okay. Okay.
Is the Hercules ROV strong? Like the big guy, Hercules? No.
Is the ROV strong? Well, it's named Hercules, so obviously we all think it's strong. Hercules is our kind of workhorse as far as the two ROVs go. Hercules has two manipulator arms. One of them we could refer to as the strong one. That one we can kind of hook up to a variety of instruments, and it can, right now I believe we have a laser spectrometer attached to that strong arm. The other manipulator arm can be used to pick up small specimens, to manipulate in tiny little areas. So essentially very similar to crab claws, where you've got one crusher claw, that's the strong part, and then you've got the cutter claw, that's a little bit more delicate and more precision.
Since you're around the Gulf of Mexico, are you going to have to do anything with the Deepwater incident, or are you just going to be doing with the brine pools?
I think, were they asking about the
Deepwater Horizon?
The Deepwater Horizon? Go ahead.
The last leg of the expedition, during the EcoGig leg, if you look for any of the videos on the Nautilus Live website, you will see those. During the EcoGig part of the expedition is when they were exploring the effects of the BP oil spill on deepwater corals and their ecosystem. We've been out to various sites multiple times, both before and after the oil spill, and we're taking high-resolution photographs of the deepwater corals and just kind of comparing them from previous years to see if the corals are in decline, if they're recovering, and what the status is of the corals and other organisms that have been affected by the oil spill.
Okay, go.
Are you guys going to be visiting any coral reefs?
Unfortunately, not on this leg. We're not going to be going to any coral reefs. We're going to spend most of our time checking out these brine pools, which are really exciting, and taking some samples from there, getting different measurements, and then maybe checking out a shipwreck that might be close. And then after that, the Nautilus is going to start heading towards the Pacific. They're going to go through the Panama Canal and start doing some research on the Pacific. And Tammy is actually going to be staying aboard when the Nautilus goes through the Panama Canal. It heads over to the Pacific and goes to the Galapagos. So you guys can follow that online throughout the entire adventure.
Are you guys the first one to research the shipwreck, or are you gonna be like the just doing additional research?
Well, the ship. We are doing some additional research. We have gotten the target of the potential shipwreck from the Bureau of Ocean Energy and Management. And we are going to, if we get over to it, we'll be heading in that general area and using our multi-beam echo sounder to get a proper map of it and potentially identify the size of the shipwreck and get some more information. So we're not going to be the first ones there, but we're just gathering some more baseline data, and then we'll communicate with other entities involved and go from there. We don't plan on doing any excavation or anything like that. It's just a simple recon mission at this point. Good question.
You guys said that the two ROVs work together. How do they exactly work together?
Can you say that one more time?
I think he was asking how the two ROVs work together, how Argus and Hercules. You want to explain that a little?
Sure. All right, so the two ROVs are Argus and Hercules. They are connected together by a tether, and they're also connected to the ship, so that way we don't lose them. And Argus floats, if the ship is here, Argus is beneath the ship, and then Hercules is even further down underneath Argus when they're deployed in the water. Argus is kind of our stabilizer in terms of the ROVs. The Argus ROV will be absorbing any movement from the ship, from the waves and currents and such, so that way Hercules is not being affected by the movement of the ship at the surface. So Hercules will be deeper than Argus, and that's the one that we will be using for all of our exploration. So Argus is there to kind of help buffer the movement of the ship and the waves, while Hercules is going to be doing the bulk of our science exploration.
Both of them do have their own ROV operator, and they sit right next to each other in the control van. So Hercules has an ROV operator, and Argus also does too. And what's cool for everyone to know is that there's lots of opportunities for you guys to get involved with internships as you get older. Even opportunities, guys, for some of your high school students to be involved. But you guys can also, like I said, get involved by just going to nautiluslive.org. And I also want to mention to all of our Broward County teachers out there about the workshop coming up here in June 25th, so that you can bring all of these cool and exciting lessons and activities that are happening here on Nautilus right into our classrooms, so the students can get more involved and get a chance to be right there as exploration is happening.
Go ahead.
What is the mission?
You guys got some more questions there, New River?
Go.
What is the mission?
You have to repeat that one more time. The mission in the Galapagos?
Go ahead.
What is the
they
mission?
said, right?
I think so. We'll go with that. The mission in the Galapagos, if that's what you asked, we're going to be looking at hydrothermal vents in the Galapagos region. And hydrothermal vents are very significant because in that area in the 1970s, Dr. Bob Ballard first discovered hydrothermal vents, and they're significant because in those regions, the ecosystem down there does not live in sunlight, and so up until that point, everybody thought that life needs sunlight to survive and photosynthesis. But once the hydrothermal vents were discovered, we realized there was a whole nother process going on in that deep ocean area where there's no sunlight, that process being chemosynthesis, where instead of taking sunlight and converting that into glucose, we were taking, or the bacteria that live down there were taking chemicals such as hydrogen sulfide that comes out of the hydrothermal vents and converts that to glucose, which then in turn feeds the rest of the food chain. So we're getting back to that area. Dr. Ballard hasn't been there since he first found them in the 1970s. So it'll be great to get back into the area, see the hydrothermal vents, see how the area has changed, because obviously things don't stay the same forever. Get some more mapping done and see what's new in the region.
How deep can the ROVs go?
The ROVs can go approximately about 4,000 meters.
And while we're in the Gulf of Mexico, there's no point that's that deep in the Gulf of Mexico. But when we are doing our trial tomorrow with our new cable that we have, we're going to be going down to a little bit more than 3,000 meters and using the full extent of the cable that we have, so that way we can ensure that when we get to areas such as the Pacific Ocean that are deeper than 3,000 meters, that way we know that the cable is functioning as it should.
Go.
What's the name of the shipwreck that you guys are gonna be exploring?
There's not currently a name, at least not one that has been given to us. So this is just pure exploration at this point. It's just an unknown target that was released to us. So we don't have a name for it as of yet.
Do you have any kind of backup plan if the ROV gets disconnected from the cable?
If the ROV gets disconnected from the cables, I don't believe there is a backup plan for that. Hopefully that doesn't happen, which is why we are doing our trial once we get the new cable on board. The cable has been, it's a loaner from another institution, so hopefully there won't be anything wrong with it, but obviously there's going to be a lot of testing going on before we put the ROVs in the water with this new cable. So we're not thinking worst case scenario at that point.
Well, I was talking to one of the ROV operators yesterday, and he was telling me how Hercules is actually a little bit more buoyant, so that if it does ever happen that Hercules gets detached from Argus, it will actually float slowly to the surface. And Argus is actually connected to the Nautilus, so you really, hopefully that will never, lose them at all. But if it was to happen, which we hope it never will, but there is some things that are in place in case that does, but that's not the plan. Have you guys been looking at the Nautilus Live website? I know some of my classes at New River have, and hopefully around Broward County. There's some really amazing stuff that's been they've been seeing lately. The sperm whale, have you guys watched that? That is so cool.
Yes, if you guys haven't had a chance to look at the sperm whale video, that was something that was found during our first leg of the season. While the two ROVs were in the water, a curious sperm whale was first spotted on the surface by the ship's captain, and then the sperm whale took a deep breath at the surface and did a dive, and we took a big dive, and then it was showing up on the cameras of Argus and Hercules. So we have time for one last question.
Are the ROVs powered?
The ROVs have their own thrusters on board with the energy coming from through the cable on the ship. So there's generators essentially that are driving the ROVs and using the thrusters to get both down and back to the surface. So I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you guys for participating and asking some great questions. And remember to keep checking in on nautiluslive.org.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, New River, and all of Broward County. And don't forget, we are also going to be doing another interaction on Monday at, what time is it at? 10 a.m. Your guys' time. 9 a.m. ours, but hope to see you guys back, and keep, like Tammy said, keep checking back in to nautiluslive.org, and maybe you'll see us on camera.
All right, we're going to take you back to Kelly at the Inner Space Station. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks again, Broward County, for joining us today. The website to check out all of our highlights and pictures, videos is nautiluslive.org, and you can send in more questions right to the ship. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.